Check this out.
Is it?
It is. And this is what I mean by wrong identity. The day you are born, you are a pristine, clean, state-of-the-art mind, a pristine, clean, state-of-the-art skin bag, full of awareness. No thoughts, no opinions, no judgments. At that point, we start putting names and labels and judgments and opinions and fears and all the rest of it into this poor little child. And then those names and labels start to grow exponentially in the child's head until it fills that head up. Now the awareness, the pristine, clean awareness is gone. Well, it's in there. And you're full of thoughts, and we start to identify with these thoughts as being us, and that's the problem right there. Now, the fact is, when you close your eyes and you're watching your thoughts, what are you at that point that's watching your thoughts? You don't think. You can watch thoughts, but you personally, you don't think. You are pure awareness, that's all you are. Now, inside here, I'll back up a little bit. These eyes can only see what blocks light. For instance, sunlight will hit a tree, leave the tree, go into your eyes, and you see it somewhere in your head. That's the only way you can see with these eyes. I don't see anything else. Now, inside here, it's jet black. There's no light, you know that. It's just fat and electrical impulses. There's no light in there whatsoever. So how are you seeing your thoughts? You can visualize a sun so bright that it'll make you squint, that you're not looking at anything out externally. So you can see your thoughts, you can see your dreams, you can see your imaginings. So what are you seeing those with? That's your third eye. My point is this. If you take a thought and you break it in half, it doesn't know you're in there looking at it. It has no wisdom or life of its own. It's just a piece of information. And yet we think that those thoughts are us. Thoughts without wisdom, which comes from the higher mind, thoughts without wisdom, they just mulch and move around and they connect and they come up with all sorts of ridiculous belief systems and all the rest of it, which has nothing to do with reality. So there's three questions you need to ask. What am I in here that is watching these thoughts? How am I seeing things inside my brain without using my eyes? And the third one, and this is the most important, since the day you were born, everything you've seen, like I said before, the light goes into your eyes and you see it somewhere in the middle of your brain. When you hear things, sound waves hit your eardrum hits the little bones make an electronic signal, and you hear that somewhere in the middle of your brain. Touch, tactile, same thing. So since the day you were born, you've never actually been outside of your head. You've never experienced the outside world, ever. It has all been done inside your head. Now, this part of you, this mind that can see thoughts, you have to bring that out of the head. Once you can do that, you are no longer limited by the 2 or 3 colors that these eyes can see. You are now have the liberty to see a million colors. You see things that other people would consider to be ghosts and spirits, but they're not. So you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are crazy. Your thoughts are insane, and they always will be, because they are just dead things that we use. Let me put it another way. If you go out to space, you have to be in a spacesuit. And in that spacesuit, you would have a little processor in front of you telling you how cold it is outside, how much water you've got left in your suit, how much oxygen you've got left. Your own vital signs will all come up on this little thing. If you start to believe that that processor is you, you're in trouble real quick. If you go scuba diving, it's the same
what
thing.
everybody knows.
That's it. So if you go scuba diving, it's the same thing. You have to get in a suit so you can survive that environment. You will have little control panels telling you how much air you've got left, how cold it is, how deep you are, etc. If you start to believe that processor is you, once again, you're in friggin' trouble. And this is what we've done. We've got all these thoughts. We identify with the thoughts of being us. And now, when these thoughts get depressed, you think it's you that's depressed. Boom, you shoot yourself. That's insane right there. If your thoughts get confused, you think it's you that confused. So you get confused. If you sit back and watch your thoughts being confused, that's got nothing to do with you. You're as clear as you are the day you were born at that point. Now, here's my other thing. You can't think of something you don't already know. If I say to you, think of a matchbox, you have to know what a matchbox is before you can turn it into a thought. My point is this, that awareness that you are, that is in all things, knows everything because it creates everything and it is in everything. So you don't need your thought process. You only need it occasionally when you need to interact with the outer world, but it's not you, it's a tool. And once you start to identify with that tool, you're in big trouble. You will go insane like all the rest of the monkeys on the planet. So you have to rise above it. Everything you've told me in the first half hour of our meeting today is just thoughts. They mean nothing. They've got nothing to do with anything at all. You have to connect with that part of you that is watching your thoughts. That's the real you. You are awareness. If you watch your thoughts, you'll see an angry thought followed by an angry emotion, like a wake following a boat. Sad thought, sad emotion. If you negate all of these things you're aware of, you arrive at awareness. That's what you are. How does that connect you to the rest of the cosmos? Simple. Every leaf on every tree has the ability to follow the sun across the sky. Every blade of grass will turn, follow the sun. That means there's awareness in there. Wherever there's awareness, you are in it. There you are. There's only one mind and it fills all things, just like one ocean soaks all of the sponges at the bottom of the ocean. It's all the same ocean. If one sponge was to think, oh, the ocean that's in my mind is separate, it has nothing to do with the rest of the ocean, now that sponge is in trouble as well. If one cell in your body decides, no, I don't want to work with this body, I am an individual and I'm going to go off on my own course, you now have a cancer cell gone off on its own course. We are cancer cells in life because the cosmos has an agenda. It doesn't know what it is and it's exploring itself. We all feel that. It's the reason you got in touch with me. We want to know what it's all about. If you can imagine floating in space before the Big Bang or whatever, you're floating in space, there's no matter, there's no dust, there's no planets, there's just mind. It's called the Higgs boson at the moment. Doesn't really have a name. So if you're floating there in eternal nothingness before there was any matter, pure mind, with no body, no thoughts, how would you know you were there? You wouldn't. You have to see something to imply that you're there looking at it. Now, scientifically, we know that when substance reaches critical mass, it starts to light up. And space is substance. It does have a substance. So at some point in eternal space, it would have gotten so thick, it would have started to light up. It wouldn't have been in the middle anywhere because for there to be a center, there has to be a periphery to measure a center from. And in space, there's no periphery, so there's no center. But somewhere it would have lit up. Then the rest of life, the rest of the mind that we call space would have gone something like this.
Had something to look at.
It would have gone, oh my God. It wouldn't have said that, but it would have gone, oh, I am. What am I? I don't know. I'm invisible. In answer to that need, bang, it creates matter. So now there's a skin. Now it can see itself. At that point, it's just unfolding and unfolding and unfolding because it needs to know what it is. This is the key, Damon. When you say the word me or I, if you're not talking for the entire cosmos at that point, you're lying. And that's what separates us. If you know that your mind is in this body, this mind is in that body, you stop saying me, you, and I, because every time you say I, you've separated yourself. And if you separated yourself, it's not possible to heal anyone. It just simply isn't possible. It doesn't make sense. Religiously, if you think you're an individual, single entity fragmented from the rest of life, every time shit happens in your life, you start to think things like, why is this happening to me? What have I done wrong? Am I being punished? That implies that you're separate from the rest of life and life is attacking you for some reason, and that's not the case. So once again, all of these stories...
That's how I've been thinking all along.
So that's it. The moment, like when I move something, for instance, if I have the thought that, call me GM, by the way, that's what my friends call me, it's GM, it's easy.
Okay.
So if I have a thought that GM wants to move the glass, for instance, that will never ever happen, because I've just created the delusion and the illusion that I'm separate from it, and therefore it's not possible for me to move it. So your thoughts separate you from everything, they fragment you from everything, and at that point, life does not make sense. All of the sciences of life at the moment on the earth are all dermatological. It's all about the dermis of life. Everything is about the matter, you know. Psychology, it's all about matter. It's your brain, it's matter. So there's not one science on the planet that's actually gone beyond the skin of life yet, except quantum physics is starting to. Quantum physics is the new terminology for mysticism, believe it or not. So that's what it is. The moment you look at a patient,
starting to see what they want to see.
Yeah. If you look at a patient as being you, not understanding that won't work. You have to literally, when you're looking at a patient, you need to be literally 100% looking at yourself. Then you have every ability to heal that person immediately. If I had a schizophrenic in here the other day, and she's been on meds for many years, she's been a schizophrenic for many years, sick of the voices, etc., etc. So I just, it takes me about 15 minutes to take someone out of their body. And once I take you out of your body and you look back at yourself being schizophrenic, it's over at that point. It's finished for you. You go back into the body, you see the monkey that you're inhabiting, the spacesuit that you're inhabiting, being a little bit crazy. At that point, you leave it. You just walk out of the room for a while. By that, I mean you leave your head until it decides to settle down, and then you go back in and everything's fine again. That's having absolute control over your schizophrenia. But you need to know you are not your thoughts. If you think you are your thoughts, you're in trouble. Same human being, even though it may seem rational to you. Insane things seem rational to an insane mind. So the way we think is irrational, the way we think is extremely wrong, the way we think separates us from the rest of life. If you think I'm separate from you, then all of a sudden ESP doesn't seem possible. If you realize that we share the same mind, then all of a sudden ESP is inevitable, isn't it? And so is healing. When it comes to telekinetic powers, every time you move your finger like this, I would ask you, how are you doing that? And when I say you, I'm talking to the awareness in there that you are. Most people will say, oh, I send an electrical impulse to the muscles and it eventually gets there and I do that. And I would say to you, well, no, you're not thinking about doing that. You can just do that. I'm doing this while I'm talking. I'm not thinking about that. So how am I doing it?
Accept that it's part of you.
You're just moving it. Now, this is my point, though. Before the electrical impulse leaves your brain, what are you in there that created that electrical impulse? Because at that point, you have found the barrier where the spirit jumps the barrier into the physical realm and creates an electrical impulse so that you can do that. That is spirit moving matter. That is telekinetic. And that's where it's at. There's no teaching to show someone how to do telekinesis. It's not possible. There's no technique. It's a matter of accessing the correct state of mind, and then telekinetic ESP healing is all a natural consequence of coming from the higher mind. The moment you drop back down into your thought processes, you're just a monkey again. And it doesn't matter how smart you sound, how intelligent you may try and seem, you're just using thoughts. And they do nothing, they go nowhere. So the very mind that has the ability to generate thoughts, the mind that has the ability to generate movement, that's you. And that's what you have to get to. You've settled down a lot, haven't you, in the last couple of minutes?
No, what you said's profound. It's so simple.
It is.
It's just so simple.
It is. Thank you.
It's hard to get your head out of it. There's no teaching, really. It's just an understanding.
It's an awakening.